So we were talking about Frank Kaminsky just a little bit ago. Obviously, he greatly contributed to the Badgers going to their first Final Four in the Bo Ryan era. I was amazed to see, because I thought back in 2000 Bo Ryan was coaching that team. He was not when they went to the last Final Four. So Kaminsky had 28 points. He shot 11 of 20. He had 11 rebounds, 7 on the offensive end. We were talking a little bit about him, and if a team would take him in the NBA draft, I think they should. But there was some controversy in overtime. We're going to get into referees and officiating and whatnot, but if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. I know that they're pulling it via copyright, but Nick Johnson was driving in the lane. It was a brutal offensive foul call as he fouled Gasser of Wisconsin. And in that sort of situation, I hate to be like the cliche, but just you don't have to call that. Just let him play. There was minimal contact of Anderson throwing his elbow out or anything like that. I didn't see it. It was shit. The call was shit. Okay, I'm just thinking, like, in those late game situations, don't you want to see the players play it out? Don't you want to see the competitiveness go on? Like, look, if it's a blatant foul call like Keith Appling on Shabazz Napier, that was the big play in that game too. Like, that was obvious. He hit his elbow. But like this was so ticky-tack, and I think we actually have one more from the Tennessee-Michigan game.
Yeah, well, I was about to mention the Tennessee-Michigan play. You know,
you got that one, Mike?
I don't mind flopping. I feel like flopping is, you know, like it's.
I do mind it.
And I think, well, it's not. Let me rephrase it. I mind flopping, but we, as I've said many times, and nobody's buying this, but I'm right. We overstate flopping because on a replay, frequently things look like flops. Whereas if I'm standing there and you lean into me with your shoulder, I'm gonna get knocked back if I'm not ready for that. So
a little, but you don't have to act like you're shot when you do it.
I got it, but the fact of the matter is, we think people act like they were shot when sometimes they legitimately got knocked back because replay.
But they didn't get shot.
Replay does not do justice.
I agree.
To full speed contact, and that's true in the NFL and in college.
I was going to say.
That said, this play against this Tennessee-Michigan play at the end, after Tennessee did such a great job forcing 4 straight Michigan turnovers, and then getting the ball back down 1 with 6 seconds to play, something like that. And then there was an offensive foul call on Stokes, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't.
Got it? All right,
and it wasn't flagrant. Like, he didn't lower the shoulder. But
it didn't look like he lowered his shoulder.
But on that angle, it kind of did, and that referee is behind the play. When you see it on the other angle, you see that he didn't really make contact with him at all, or got him on the upper shoulder. And he wasn't so much lowering it as angling his body. So a referee on the other side probably wouldn't have made the call. It's funny, when I see that replay, it was a bad call. But when I see that replay
from that angle,
right, I look for bounds of reason. And I guess if I'm the referee and I'm standing there,
yeah, from that angle it does. But I mean,
there's bounds of reason.
As you stated, from the other angles we saw,
right? But he's not out another angle.
It's a terrible call in a bad situation.
Yeah, it was a tough break, but at least I get it now. It was a bad call, and it was a flop because there wasn't nearly that much contact, and you hate to see a game end that way.
Absolutely.
That said, if he had hit him square in the chest with his shoulder, like, you're not supposed to let him play. That's a foul. You can't do that. You can't give yourself an advantage when you're down 1 with 6 seconds to play.
I feel like
knocks your defender off.
I feel like in a lot of those situations, the right call is a no call. Just to let him play, let it play out the way that it should. You know,
but it should. Everything. But like, why in the first quarter is it okay if you go up for a layup and I hit the ball, but I also come down and I hammer you on the elbow? I mean, why not?
Well, I mean, if it's that blatant, then yes, of course, call it.
But if he had squared up and stuck him in the middle of the chest, it would have been that blatant. It's just a less frequent call because it's an offensive foul. But you can't lower your chest and knock your man over so you can get him out of the way so you can bank in a 4-footer and go to the Elite Eight. Like, the Michigan defender, whoever that was there.
Morgan.
That was Morgan.
Yeah.
Who, like, he's got the right position. As it turned out, from the other angle, you see that he didn't really hit him. So,
how do you feel about the charge call?
I think they fixed it. I think they fixed it really effectively this year.
With the restricted area?
Well, two things. With the restricted area, that was in previous years. But this year, not only the restricted area, but making sure that even if you have position, if the offensive player has started his upward mobility, started not just his upward mobility, but the process of his upper mobility, which means he can be driving before he jumps up. He gets it. what we had seen in the last.
What do you mean he gets it?
He's entitled to the space. So even if you're standing there, if you run the defender over, it's going to be a blocking foul. So, and that was key because this year I haven't seen a stat. I think there were 70% fewer charges. I mean, everything was an offensive call for years and years if the guy was set. And it was tough because guys would beat their man off a dribble, start driving down the lane, dribble, be in the middle of their first step, and some guy would slide in and take a charge. And I would think, no, you have to.
You got to be there.
You got to be there. And so there were too many charges. Now this year I thought there were clearly to me some what I thought to be charges that were called blocks. But the fallback this time was to help the offensive player. They changed the tone. It seemed to me that the benefit of the doubt this year massively went to offensive players after years and years of it going to.
But not Nick Johnson. My thing with charges is it's essentially a flop. Like you're standing your ground and whatnot, and you're taking the charge, but you're getting in a position to somewhat undercut the offensive player and get the foul call in your favor. When really you're standing there and you're not making a move for the ball or anything of that sort. I just feel like it'll never develop. Charges are essentially a flop that goes in your favor half the time.
No, I
understand you disagree.
I disagree because you're wrong. I mean, I led the league in charges 2 straight years in high school.
You obviously have bias then.
No, I just know that
hobby?
It wasn't flopping. I just knew where guys were going. I got in their way. Like, that's good defense. Why is that not good defense? And
getting in their way?
Yes, I went to their spot before they got there. Like, that's being better than them at that one thing and at nothing else. I was better than them.
Was that your best skill set when you were playing basketball?
By far, other than putting the ball on my hip at the top of the key and telling everybody to just slow it down and calm down and then handing it to somebody else and getting out of the way. Dude, I had a high game of 18.
I did that yesterday.
I had a high game of 18 points in a game we lost to Seton Academy. We lost 80-70, and I had
Seton Hall Academy.
Seton, they were called, and I had 18, and I missed a layup.
Oh, horrible feeling.
My second high game was 11.
Nice.
And I never scored in double figures in any other game, and I started for 2 years
on
a team that averaged easily 68.
Were you the Bruce Bowen of your team?
It was the Bruce Bowen minus the shooting.
Couldn't hit the corner 3?
No, I mean, look, I once, I think I've told the story before, in a championship game, we played against St. Andrews.
Yeah.
The guy who was my backup, who was a bit of an offensive player, right? But I was in there for defense and calmness.
He was your backup?
Yeah. But he was a better player now, there's no question. But he was sick or hurt, and so he couldn't play. So I played 31 minutes and 40 seconds. I sat out
a 40-minute game, obviously.
A 32-minute game, 8-minute quarters, high school. Yeah. I sat out the last 2 minutes of the third quarter, last 20 seconds of the third quarter, right? We won. I think we won like 56-52. They slowed it down on us. I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was 0 for 7 from the field and 0 for 4 from the free throw line.
Ouch.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I had.
You took like 12 charges.
I probably had 2 rebounds, and I might have had an assist or 2, right? Just accidentally, right?
You're a role player.
Right.
You're a glue guy.
After that game, I was like, I knew I played well. I felt like I'm why we won this game. Like, I literally felt that way. But I guarded their point guard, and I messed him up.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.